Hi everybody, it's Dave from Wing Chun Mind Force. I'm making a video in a different place by the river today, a couple of kilometres north of where I usually make my videos. There's a fair bit of traffic noise, but it's very beautiful here. Lovely and cool. It's going to probably be a hot summer, but today's just right. There's the water down there, undoubtedly full of fish. People don't use the river so much. So my subject today is the subject of Chi and the production of Chi and how to find Chi. And it's a long-term project of mine to find this thing out, but I just looked at a wonderful video by my friends at Nim Dao Wing Chun, and I'll put the link below, showing Sigong Chu Shong Tin demonstrating his just beyond belief level of Chi cultivation, where people hold his arm and they can just feel it vibrating. They get pushed back and he doesn't even move. He shows effortless Wing Chun, and then he says, and this is the Chi, and you can see them get pushed and they immediately start to laugh. And I suspect they get a bit of a bliss out of it, because that's generally attendant upon high-level Wing Chun, strangely, is this feeling of bliss. But, I wrote to the guys there and we had a bit of a discussion, because this is sort of like it's a sort of a secret in plain sight. It's something that a lot of people have experienced, a lot of people know about, and I think a lot of people have actually felt it. But it appears that people are too worried about what others think. They're too worried about the naysayers who'll say, well, I'm a man of science and this is impossible. That's your typical modern person. And to them I say, well, are you practicing Chinese Kung Fu or not? Do you believe your masters or not? If you're going to be the pragmatic Westerner who knows better than the superstitious Chinese folks, then go do something else, Like Bruce Lee says, why not get a gong? Like if you're going to practice an ancient Chinese art, how about trust the masters? Maybe they know things that we Westerners don't know. How about that? Maybe they know things that we've once known and forgotten. But it's a real thing, and that's what I love about this video. You can see it. You can see the effect on all these guys. And it's not all Larry with them jumping up and down, getting sprung around. It's just, you see the reaction on them, like, whoa. And I never got the chance to feel it. I never met Sigong face to face. And I've said before, it's one of my regrets that I didn't. I could have gone to his seminar in '99 in Sydney. At the time I was super broke, and I remember thinking something like, oh no, I'm going to get to Hong Kong very soon. But I've never ended up being in Hong Kong either. But I've practiced with so many wonderful practitioners, and I have actually felt this Chi force to some extent, practicing with a couple of people, and I've felt my version of it, my beginner's wonderful Chi, which to me is wonderful enough, to the point that I think, how can this be real? But it's real. I've also talked about my experience of creating Chi balls, and how I put my wife's head in a Chi ball. One day I came in from practicing. I felt the strongest ball of Chi between my hands. It was living. It was like an energy jellyfish. Like, it's strange, but it has the quality of something alive and sort of squishy, but really powerful, really effortless. And I put this around my wife's head, and she had a terrible headache, and she didn't know what I was doing. And I just thought, headache go. And she looked at me and said, wow, my headache just went. It's just I felt that flow out of my head and go away. So then I thought, wow, this is actually something very special. And when I was in Scandinavia recently, I talked to a Reiki master, and we got on like a house on fire. He was in a bit of an abrupt Danish guy running this hostel in a bit of a rough part of Copenhagen, and then, Oslo. It was in Oslo. He seemed a bit rough at first, but he was a really cool guy, and we had the greatest chat about all sorts of stuff. But he started telling me about Reiki, and I told him my story about my wife, and he goes, yeah, that's it. That's exactly what we do. So there's something very real here. So now I want to talk about how we achieve this. And I think the first thing is to just believe it's possible, and also believe that it's possible for you. And also believe that this is a requirement in Wing Chun. This is not just some 50 years in the future, maybe if I'm really lucky, I will achieve this. I think that's totally wrong. This is obviously a part of Wing Chun that's always been around. And I've been told by Chinese friends that, all Chinese Kung Fu arts consider that they have Chi and Chi cultivation. And I suspect they don't tell us about it because we're such arrogant buggers who go, impossible. So they go, yeah, righto, believe it's impossible. We'll show you the dummies version, the mechanical version. That's what you want, just to be a machine, don't you? But this is real human power. And essentially, I think that all of life is consciousness, that matter arises out of consciousness, not the other way around. And by that I mean consciousness comes not from your brain comes from your consciousness. And everything is a construct of consciousness. This ground I'm standing in, the air I'm breathing, the trees behind me, the water, it's all consciousness. And I've been meaning to make a video for a long time about the Matrix, because, wow, that film has got some pretty deep, very, very relevant things in it about Wing Chun. And one of the things is Morpheus saying to Neo, do you think that's air you're breathing in this place? They've sort of logged into this training program. And Neo's sort of spinning, going, where am I? What's going on? And gradually he understands that he's living in a construct. One of my favourite movies. I think the Wachowski brothers, now sisters, sort of really stuffed it up, especially the third film. Maybe it was the second one. But anyway, they did a good job. But the first one's a masterpiece. So it's about understanding that consciousness is fundamental. So how do we get into this? Well, the first level of meditation is a moving meditation. So we do the forms as a normal human does them. We follow the movements. We think about, angles and shapes and being relaxed and still and, whatever you're able to do. But the next level is being still. And the way I think of this is I just stand there and I monitor my body. And then often I will do the form just in my imagination. And then I do that a lot, and then I start to look for the feeling. I'm looking for the feeling as if I'm really doing it, as if I've got phantom arms, phantom legs. Then I start to move with the phantom arms and legs and let the real ones follow that. I hope you're still with me. That, I think, is the first key to practice in your mind. And Qigong did this. I always need to say, Qigong did it so you can believe it's true, not just my bullshit. But, there's a really good story about how he used to go to films that his wife loved, his lovely SIPO, which were mainly chick flicks. And like myself, he just found them sort of boring. And he would sit with his wife, who he loved, and he'd just watch this and he'd do the forms in his mind. So, this is a well-known fact now that athletes perform their skills in their mind, and it really helps. So from that point, you stay really still, but then you need to do what Horace Chu says in his article in his father's book, the Book of Wing Chun. I think it's volume 2. He talks about discovering the feeling of being like a doll made of wool, and then he felt like the wool was moving inside the doll. Okay, so something moves the doll from inside. So we are sort of like an organic doll. The real us is inside us, but we need to find that thing that moves inside. So there's a story that Nima King tells, which I really love, and I think it's written somewhere, about Yip Man telling Sigung to lup Nim, to seek the Nim mind, discover what it is, the now present heart mind. That's what the Nim Dao means. Dao means a type of mind. Nim or Lim means the now present heart mind. So Sigong went and stood on the roof of, I guess it was where they were living together and training, and in the dark for hours he would just stand there with his tan sao out and maybe, with his arms hanging down. He probably experimented with all sorts of things, but waiting for something to move. And this takes great faith and great patience. If you don't believe this is possible, you'll just give up. You'll think, oh, this is bloody stupid. But if you've ever felt it, you go, I'm going to wait. The way I think about it is like, you could call a domesticated animal, hey boy, come on, come here, sit down, shut up. But with wild things, you can't. You just can't force them to do stuff. And the stories about people, including my grandfather, birds would come to him, wild birds, and sit on his knee or sit on his shoulder. He had an aura about him. My dad told me this, that the animals would come to him. And I think that what I'm talking about, this chi, this thing that moves you, is the wild you. It's like you without all this human programming, all this accretion of do this, do that, sit down, shut up, eat with a knife and fork. Not that many people do anymore, but all the rules. Don't break the speed limit. Don't fart in church. All the stuff you're not supposed to do. But that thing is a wild creature, you, inside, and you've got to wait for it to come. And it comes timidly, it comes warily. But you can sort of be like your own horse whisperer and bring that out of yourself. And when you feel that thing start to move, and I feel it regularly, that's why I'm on the path to this. But when I feel it, I wait for it, and it's just stunning. It's like, my God, this is so real. You can feel something pushing your hands. Even talking about it, I can feel my hands start to float off. So that's the initial training. It's like to just stay and wait for something to move. So once you feel that, then you keep at it and keep at it. Now, a practitioner who I greatly admire, Tony Blankow from Adelaide, once said to a group at a conference I was at, that all these things, Nimlik, Chi, all these things, they're natural and we're supposed to find them in Wing Chun. It's just that you've got learner drivers, you've got P-platers, you've got licensed drivers, then you've got heavy truck drivers, then you've got racing drivers, then you've got jet fighter pilots. You know, there's levels of everything. So, of course, Sigun was an ace of aces jet fighter pilot, wasn't he? It was incredible. Probably one of the best that's ever lived. So, yeah. Will we get to that point? Who knows? Maybe that does take 50 years. But what I want to say is that we should be working on this. Everybody should be working on this. This is a part of Wing Chun as surely as the 6 forms, as surely as Chi Sao. You know, it's an absolute part of it. And I'd like to have a conversation with you in the comments. If you don't believe me, I'm happy to, you know, discuss it. If you've had your own experiences, I'd love to hear. I'll leave you with this. I got my balls in my hand. They're not blue balls, but they're purple. But, you know, they are really light, and they're basically pool balls, you know, that kids play in, little kids play in. And I got these for $10 in a big bag. And they are one of the most marvellous training devices for this. So what I do is I just hold them in my hands, one in each hand, and they immediately bring your consciousness to your 2 hands. And that's pretty much what Bil Ji is. It's Bil Ji, Chum Kyu. They're Sil Nim Dao. Same as the dummy and the knives and the pole are Sil Nim Dao training devices. They're Chi devices, they're Nimlik devices. They're all about the same thing. It's all Sil Nim Dao. Don't think, feel. Right, so, and they all have levels, the same as everything else. But these balls bring your mind strongly into your fingers, which is like Bil Ji, striking out a force with a fingertip. And you can do, I often do all the forms, my mind is just in my fingertips, nowhere else. My body couldn't be, might as well not be there. The fingertips are moving in space. There's a lot of cool stuff you can learn from doing this, but for some reason, the light plasticness of these, it turns on this chi in your hands, and you get a sense that they're pushing against your hands, and often I feel like I sort of do this, and it feels like it's taking my hand's weight, like it's floating there, and then it'll start to float off, and then I'll have to say, come on back, and it just ignores me, and I say, come on, and it'll start to come back. So once you feel this thing start to move, it's just amazing to experience. And, for quite a while, that's all I did was just watch it, feel it, think, wow, this is actually real. And then start to work on making it do what you want. And that's where you get to the next level, which I've only achieved a bit, is where you do the whole form, but you don't do anything until it doesn't, till it starts to move. So you sort of consciously say, okay, our arm goes out like this first and turns around, comes back, goes out here. So you become in control of it, but it's like a sort of a wild thing. You just got to be patient. Which brings me to another thing, this legendary idea about Master Yip Man putting wet paper, like rice paper, on his shoulder, and it would be dry by the time he got to the end of the Sil Nim Dao form. Now, there's conscious going slow, and then there's the real thing, which is when it goes at its pace. So once you start to feel this thing moving, there's a strange phenomenon, like I often do with my eyes closed or in the dark, where I think I've moved maybe 6 inches, and then I look at my hand, it's hardly moved at all. But actually, because this thing's moving, it feels like it's gone a reasonable distance. And it actually takes an incredibly long time to go, like just the arm to come out. But when it's done with it doing it, it just, because of the mind state you want, it'll feel sort of timeless, so you won't really notice the time. And yeah, I believe that it wouldn't be hard to have paper dry by the time you get through the first form, if you can find this way. Is this challenging? I'm just in a different mood now. I've been away from my Wing Chun channel for a bit. I've been overseas. I've been really into this thing called Viking superpowers, and that's, you think this is out there. I'm into some pretty out there stuff, but I'm loving it because I think, why the hell have an ordinary life? Why just be a boring, yes, there's nothing that I can't sink my teeth in or touch or stick in a test tube. It's like, that's bullshit. Life's a wonder. You know, life's a dream. Yeah. It's like a lucid dream, and we can change the dream. It's very real, but it's very unreal. Some beautiful, beautiful foliage here. Look at that. I love where I live. It's just gorgeous. Birdies tweeting. Don't even mind the cars, really. It's all these humans going about their life. Probably a lot of them I know. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. I hope you've got something from this. Like I said, I'm sort of onto a new phase, and after discussion with my friend at Nim Dao Wing Chun, I thought, stuff it, I am going to just tell the truth. Because there is a lot of other people out there who know this stuff, but they won't talk about it. They're all hiding away, keeping it to themselves. And with all respect, it's like people need to hear this stuff. If no one else is going to talk about it, then I'm going to talk about it. I'll be the monkey. I'll be the guy everyone thinks is eccentric, you know, a bit of a kook, a bit up himself. Oh, that David Lovegrove dude thinks he can produce chi, thinks he can do marvellous things. Well, you know, you never get anywhere in this life if you have that attitude. You've got to believe in yourself. You don't want to be arrogant. You don't want to be obnoxious, but you also don't want to be going, oh, I'm nobody. Nobody wants to hear from me. And especially these days, don't worry about the trolls. Don't worry about the inevitable, you know, especially the bigger the group you post to, the more likely you're going to get a lot of flack from all the keyboard warriors. Like literally they all think they're martial artists because they've watched 1 million samurai movies or something. Or they watch UFC all the time. They think they know what it's about. You know, they got all these cockamamie ideas. All right, that's it. See you later.